Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Gloria's Estates. Sorry we're a little bit late tonight. We've had a few technical difficulties, but you know what? Haven't we all? It's been that kind of year. What we want to cover tonight is going to be stones that are traditionally set in sterling silver jewelry. Now, we did a birthstone colored stone show 2 weeks ago, and if you liked that show, if you love colored stones, please go back, watch it. It's on YouTube. It's also uploaded to Facebook. So there will be a little bit crossover between 2 weeks ago and tonight, but a lot of those stones we're just going to kind of glance right over them. And if you want more information, or if you really like the setup, go back, watch the old ones. Please give us some views, give us some likes, get us out there, get our name out there. We'd love to keep this thing going, generate more and more people, more and more views. It's going to be a lot of fun. So anyhow, let's get started with the primary difference in between the stones that you're going to see in sterling silver and the stones that you traditionally see set in gold. Now there are some crossovers. Is the primarily going to be the cut. Normally, whenever there's stones set in gold, they're going to be a faceted cut. And when I talk about a faceted cut, I'm going to talk about something like this. Something that has actually been cut smooth and polished and set at different angles. Now, we did do quite a bit of information on that when we did our diamond tutorial. And once again, please go back and like and view that and watch that. It's a lot of fun also. I did say a lot, but you know, if you can forgive me on that, there was a lot of really good information in there. And while I'm at it, you know what, let me give a little caveat. As always, I say I am not GIA certified. I do, however, have 20 years of experience in the jewelry industry dealing with stones, all the way from diamonds down to the cheapest pieces of plastic you can ever possibly imagine that have been set in there. So anyhow, when we're talking about faceted stones, the reason anybody facets stones is to allow light to flow through the stone, right? When the light comes through the bottom of the stone, it brings life to the material that it's added to. So when you get into diamonds and sapphires and rubies, that faceted cut allows the light to just glow through the stone. Well, when you get into most of the stones that we deal in silver, they're not facet cut, they're cabochon cut. So they're actually polished and they're opaque stones. So there's no way for light to actually flow, to shine through them. The stone itself has to be the star of the show. Well, the easiest and the best way to do that is to actually use the cabochon cut, a polished cut. What they'll do is they'll take stones like this beautiful coral and they'll put it in a tumbler, or they'll run it through an ultrasonic and really kind of smooth it off and let the polish bring out the natural light of the stone, bring out the natural color of the stone. And that's the main difference of what you'll see set in silver versus set in gold. Now, a couple of shows ago, I talked about being able to look at a stone in a ring, not sure quite what it was, to always remember to look at the material of the ring. When you have an 18 karat gold ring, you're not going to find cheap stones. You're not going to find a whole lot of fake stones. Well, when you come down into the silver level, where it's much more affordable, you're going to have a lot more lab grown, a lot more synthetics, and a lot more just plain junk set in silver versus what you're going to see in gold. So let's start with everybody's favorite and probably the most common stone that I get asked about when dealing with sterling silver jewelry is turquoise. Now, this is traditionally famous for being part of the Native American jewelry, and we did a large treasure hunt a couple of months ago with 35 pounds of sterling silver jewelry. Man, that was fun. Boy, was that exhausting. Please don't ever let me do that again. I don't know if I could. It was great because part of it was a lot of this signature American Indian pieces that involved turquoise and other stones that we're going to talk about tonight. Well, the one thing that we didn't cover on turquoise last time was the different colorations, that there's white, there's black, there's green, there's blue. The primary difference between the coloration of the turquoise is actually what is around the turquoise in the ground. So when you're looking at a piece of turquoise that's very blue, that's very green, it's most of the time been near or directly in copper deposits. If you know anything about copper, just look at the Statue of Liberty, which is actually a copper statue. However, years of being outside in the weather on the sea has caused it to turn its natural green of what it turns into when exposed to the elements. Well, what we see as copper, that bronze, yellowish metal, is only in a polished, pure form. In nature, if it's exposed to the elements, has that distinct green coloration. So when you're looking at a lot of these blues, it's mixed in with other metals of the ground, and it gives that wonderful look, that wonderful shine that is turquoise and always associated with turquoise. Now, in that same family, the Chalcedony family, very similar to it, we're going to find another one of our favorites. Again, very, very heavily used in Indian, American, Native American jewelry. This is going to be the malachite. Now, malachite is actually copper cardonia hydroxide. Let me just knock cameras around. And the reason why this is so much darker green, a deeper green, is because these are not around copper deposits. They're directly in copper deposits. If you want to find malachite, go to a copper mine. That's where you're going to find this stone. And any kind of the calcium carbide that's naturally in the ground is going to transfer the color from the copper into these stones. Now, we're talking about eons, millennium worth of leaching into the stone, but this retains that beautiful, deep, dark green coloration. Very cool, very neat. And it's just one of those ones that when you see it, it really catches your eye. These are popular all over the world. These have been used for many, many years. All right, let's go on to the next stone. All right, the next stone is actually one of my personal favorites, and it's called the lapis. I've heard this pronounced multiple times, multiple ways. Very, very weird. And what this is a mix of a couple of different minerals. What it is a mix of laurite, calcite, and pyrite. Now let me explain that. The laurite is the dark blue in there. And the pyrite are those little specks of gold in there. If you actually look in there, a lot of people think that is gold. It's actually not. It's iron pyrite, also known as fool's gold. So what happens is all three of those stones, all three of those materials come together, get compressed together, and form this amazing stone. Well, that lucite in there has been used for thousands of years, traditionally in works of art and works of jewelry, because of that royal blue color. If you have ever heard anybody talk about royal blue, it's because back in the day it was so hard to get that color that stayed. So when people were painting, when people were designing jewelry, the only people who could afford that wonderful color were royal, were people with a lot of money. So the lapis, although currently is not an expensive stone, does have a lot of history, a lot of beauty behind it. And I truly think that lapis is one of the neatest stones that you get when you're dealing with silver jewelry. All right, let's move on to the next natural material. And again, something that is thousands of years old. And I got a couple of smaller pieces, mainly because you don't see these in extremely large pieces. This is red coral. And the reason why you don't see them much bigger than this is because honestly, they're so soft. We talked about pearls and how soft they were. Coral, basically anything that lives in an ocean environment, is going to be a lot softer. And so the larger the stone is made, the more susceptible it is to getting damaged, to getting hurt, to getting chipped, cracked, whatever. But they pull these off the ocean ground, they polish them to a high shine, and they've been using them for hundreds of years. but they just don't make it through the test of time. They don't make it long. So it is actually safer to set them in silver than it is in gold. Silver is a much harder material. When you're dealing with gold, you're dealing with a softer metal. And so when you want to protect a stone, you don't wrap it in gold, you wrap it in silver. It's going to last a lot longer. The one story I always tell about gold is, and how soft it is that in the Old West, if you ever watch the movies about the Old West, somebody walks into a bar and slides a gold coin to the bartender. What's the first thing he does? He picks it up and he bites on it. Well, why would you bite a gold coin? It doesn't make any sense. Well, gold is so soft that you can actually bite into it. So if somebody slides you a fake gold coin, you go to bite into it, you break your teeth. Real gold, you bite into it, and you literally can feel your teeth biting into that gold. That's how soft it is. All right, let's move on to the next one. Amber. I like amber. Amber is a very, very cool stone. And believe it or not, out of all the stones on here, geologically, it's the oldest. It's up to about 320 million years old. And before anybody goes off on me about Jurassic Park, yes, it's real. Yes, there have been 1,000 different species of animals and flora and fauna and everything found in older pieces of amber that they've actually been able to extract the DNA out of. Now, as far as replication, that's way above my pay grade. I just know that they have found loads of different DNA material in amber stones from up to 320 million years. Now, they do mine these basically all over the world, wherever there's mineral deposits, wherever there's oil deposits, wherever there's any kind of prehistoric genetic material, you will find pieces of amber. Now, one of the weird things that I did in the shop the other day was somebody was looking at a piece of amber and they asked me if it was real. So I showed them the easiest test I have for amber. Well, amber, remember, is an organic material. What it is it's essentially tree sap that has been hardened and fossilized over hundreds of millions of years. Well, regardless of how old it is, it's still an organic material. So take a stone and just lightly, let me get a little bit better on it, and smell it. And what you're smelling for is just what you would normally smell whenever somebody is burning organic material, burning hair, burning anything like that. So if you hit it with a lighter, just briefly, I mean, that was even a little too long, smell it, and what you're smelling for is burnt hair smell. Not a pleasant thing to do, but it is a quick and easy, dirty trick to learn whether or not it's real or fake. If you smell it and it smells like burnt plastic, you have burnt plastic. All right, let's move on to the next one. All right, next one's my favorite. I love jade and these dark, deep colors of jade. Now, there's two primary types of jade that we see set in jewelry, and that's nephrite and jadeite. Well, when you're looking at these three pieces here, you're going to have a lighter color like this, which is not as opaque, or that's truly opaque, you can't see through it at all. That's more of a nephrite, where if you get to the lighter colors, that's more going to be your traditional jadeite, your higher end stuff. When you see a circle like this, it's actually one of the oldest Chinese characters. What it means in Chinese is Bai, and it symbolizes heaven. So if you ever see a piece of jade with a hole in the center, that's translated into heaven, right? So, and one of the nice things about jade is it's not nearly as hard as a diamond. It's slightly brittle, but it's fairly hard. Now, jade also, believe it or not, retains temperature of the room. So, or retains its coldness. One of the cool ways to test for jade is to take it, hold it up to your face. If you feel it cold, even if you're in a warm room, you know that's a good, real piece of jade. Now, you can also use the fire trick to test to see if it's plastic. But honestly, I find the cheek test just as quick, just as easy, and I'll be honest, it's so much easier. Anyhow, let's move on to the next grouping. Now, next stone we're going to cover is agate. Now, agate is probably going to be your primary stone in any of your larger silver pieces. I do have a bigger trillion piece here. Now, agate is, a quartz formation that is traditionally comes from a volcanic activity. So when you're looking at anything like this or like this, these are actually going to be agate, right? Agate is a form of quartz. Now, we covered a lot of different styles of quartz and amethyst and citrine during our last show. All of those are going to be in this same grouping. Agate is simply a wider spread variation of, it's like saying I drive a sedan versus somebody who says I drive a Mercedes. Well, they're both the same thing, but one's slightly more specific than the other. But when you're going to find these multicolored wave agates, that's polished all the way out of geodes and other volcanic formations where bubbles of air and silica and sand have been trapped in a cooling volcano. And the 10 million years of pressure and heat have turned all that into this beautiful, wonderful stone that when you polish it up, looks amazing. So, yeah, just thought that was cool. All right, let's move on. Real quick, since we're talking about that. A couple of weeks ago, if you're not part of our Gloria's Estate Facebook page, please join us. I put up a wonderful picture of a landscape agate that I did not know what it was. And thank you everybody who helped us look it up, identify it. It's every day in this industry is learning new, very cool, very fun things. And that was just one of them. So thanks everybody for assisting me. I will need your help again. So please join the page, stay tuned. We want to help you as much as you want to help us. All right, we're going to move on to the next one. The next one is, of course, anybody who deals in estate jewelry's absolute favorite, and that's the cameo. Now, believe it or not, the cameo is an agate. It is in the same family. And what you've done is you've taken a traditional agate stone that has one color on the top and one color on the bottom, and elegantly carved the stone down to the one color versus the other. The way to think about it is Michelangelo, when he was building a statue, would talk about the form that he was carving was always in the stone. He just had to remove the bits of stone that didn't belong. He always thought that the statue was within the block. His job was just to bring it out. That's exactly what a cameo is. Now, you do not see a whole lot of hand-carved cameos anymore. What you will see are masters and copies. The reason being that it takes so long and so much artistry to produce these. So what you'll have is you'll have one artist in Italy, in Spain, in other parts of the world that will hand-carve cameos. And then they use an ultrasonic mill to actually burr down other pieces of agate that they have to form those wonderful pictures, frames, everything like that. Now, cameos have been expanded in definition in jewelry to everything, whether it's even just a picture or set in gold. But the actual true definition, traditional definition of a cameo is a dual color piece where the separation in colors identifies the picture. Anyhow, I just thought that was neat. Cool. All right, so the next stone we're going to roll on to is very similar to agate, and it's going to be a jasper. Well, the one difference between jasper and, say, turquoise or agate, first off, you will not see a whole lot of blue stones, so this color is definitely not going to be an agate, or this color is definitely not going to be a jasper. It's going to be an agate. When you get into very cool pieces of jasper, they're mostly red, or in this case, bloodstone, they're going to be green with flashes and colors of red. Let's get you a better look at this one. Now, what that color of red is actually just like we talked about with turquoise, the green leaching into it, the red color on jasper is actually the iron around the material leaching into the material, and it creates that wonderful red iron rust color on the jasper. This one actually is called a heliotrope, and again, like I said, a bloodstone. You'll find these in a whole lot of colors, but the one thing that you truly see is always going to be flashes. It's specks of red, streaks of red, and that's from the traditional iron coloration that you're going to see in jasper all over the world. All right. The next group's really going to be big, and it's going to be all over the board, and that's the quartz formation. So you're going to see multiple kinds and styles and versions of quartz. Well, you're going to see raw quartz, just like this. This is going to be more of a druzy set. So that wonderful formation of crystalline is actually formed on the surface of quartz because of water that's been set on the stone and then evaporated, and then set on the stone and evaporated. And every time that happens, it creates the peaks and the mountains and the valleys within the stone. Now, if you get to other kinds of quartz where we polish them down, and yes, you will see quartz as one of the few stones that is not only done as cabochon, but it's actually also done as a facet cut. So you can have a polished version or you can have a cut version. And in this case, on the left-hand side, what you're going to see is actually tourmaline inclusions running through this cabochon stone. And the stone on the right is actually a rose quartz. Now, you'll also see a lot of reticulated quartz, amethyst, citrine. You'll even be including the Herkimer diamond, which is a very dark, deep, heavy stone. It almost looks gray. And there's so much, it's so hard that if you're not careful, it'll actually set off a diamond tester. So, it's kind of a cool stone. If you've ever seen a Herkimer diamond, you'll fool a diamond tester and just look at it and go, what is that? Well, it's a Herkimer diamond. Cool. All right. Also in that same family, we're going to run into onyx. Now, onyx is, again, all over the board. It is a very, very soft stone. If you've ever had to work with onyx, and most of the time you see them drilled with that little hole in the center, and they'll set a stone, a diamond, something in it. But if you're not careful with an onyx, you will absolutely chip the hell out of it. And they're very hard to get replaced. Now, nowadays, we use a lot of other different style materials in place of onyx because it is so soft. So you'll see companies using Mexican opal, which is actually granite. You'll see companies using obsidian, alabaster, other materials that are going to be harder than the onyx, but they're all still in that agate family of everything else. Now, one last one that I wanted to show off just because it's really cool to me is the moonstone. And the coloration of the moonstone has always been one of my favorites because this is kind of the stone that you're not sure whether or not you want to facet it or you want to cabochon it. It's almost reminiscent of, yes, the old mood rings, right? Where it has that super light blue, really catches the light on it. And I would love to see a moonstone be faceted. I never have. If anybody's got a picture of one, please send me a picture of one because I really just want to see what it looks like. It's this kind of stuff really fascinates me. I think it's so cool. I think it's neat. So anyhow, let's roll on to the next piece. So the next one we're going to deal with is going to be topazes, right? Well, when we're coming into topazes, we've covered a lot of these before. Let me see if I can find a couple good ones. We did a lot of these when we did the birthstone tutorial, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. But topaz is a very hard stone. They come in a super wide array of colors. So you can actually get topazes that are yellow, that are blue, that are green, that are all up and down the board, clear. So when it comes to a topaz, it's probably going to be one of the most prolific stones that you're going to see in silver and in gold. The reason is it's very affordable, it's very sturdy, and it's very strong. So when you have a very easy to work with stone like that, you're going to see it everywhere, right? As a manufacturer, as a jeweler, as a custom builder, topaz is one of the best things, one of the best stones to work with. And because of its affordability, you can set it in anything. Remember also, when it comes to topazes, it's kind of weird that when you're dealing with diamonds and every time you go up in size, you're not doubling in value, you're quadrupling in value. Well, when you go up in size in topazes, amethysts, citrines, you're not looking at a major increase in value. So if you have a 1 carat stone or a 20 carat stone, they're going to be very similar in cost. The main cost is the cutting of the stone. So if you have a 20 carat citrine, it won't look bright in gold, but it would look perfect in silver. So, all right, move on to the next one. Next one we're going to deal with is cubic zirconium. Yeah, everybody's favorite, that hit from the 70s, back to the 70s. We're going to be looking at cubic zirconia. Now, cubic zirconia was one of the very first true alternatives to a diamond, and that was synthetically created. Now, there are zircons, which are a certain stone. We didn't cover those tonight. We did a little bit of that last show. But the cubic zirconia is actually a synthetic-made diamond alternative. One trick, one cool thing to notice about cubic zirconia, I want you to show you something, right? You're going to want to come in here and shine this and really show it off to the light. And what I want you to look for is the spectrum of colors you're going to see, right? So if you're looking at this stone, you're going to see flashes of blue, of yellow, of red, of purple, all the way across the board. If you're looking at a stone and you're trying to tell the difference between whether it's a cubic zirconia or a diamond, the easiest thing to look for is flashes of purple. Diamonds don't flash purple. If you are looking at a stone like this and you see a purple flash along the spectrum of light, that means it's a zirconia, right? Put it down, walk away, or know that you're buying a zirconia, know that you're looking at a zirconia, but it's not a diamond. So just one of those cool tips and tricks, something really fast. So, all right, and next we're gonna go on to marcasite. Now, I didn't have any large pieces of marcasite because honestly, I don't think I've ever seen one. So what I did was snag one of my favorite new pieces with a whole lot of marcasite. Now, back when we were talking about lapis, we were talking about iron pyrite, fool's gold. Believe it or not, what marcasite is, and it's also called a poor man's diamond, is it's white iron ferrite. So it's actually the white style of fool's gold. And what they do is cut it so small that it looks like little chips of diamonds. The problem that you're going to have is it was used a lot in the 20s and 30s. And if you look at these older rings, everybody wonders why they're missing so many marcasites, why they need so much repair. Believe it or not, high humidity and varying temperatures actually releases a form of acid through the stone, and they destroy themselves, right? Really weird. I'm not aware of another stone that when exposed to high humidity will actually destroy itself and destroy the piece of jewelry it's on. But, I don't know, very cool fact. All right. Move on to the next faceted stone. Well, the next faceted stone is, of course, everybody's favorite, the diamond. Now, when I got started, one of the rules that I was taught was you will not find real diamonds in silver. Well, rules are made to be broken because you have started to see, especially in the last 10 years, with the major increase in gold and the fairly radical decrease in smaller, lower quality diamonds, you're going to find a lot more pieces of sterling silver that have diamonds in them. Now, once again, go back to the rule of what metal is it in to determine the quality of the stone. You're not going to see a whole lot of beautiful diamonds set in sterling silver unless it's a true custom piece, something that somebody designed and wanted that way. But you are starting to see a lot more larger, prettier, better made sterling silver with diamond pieces. So if they say it's silver and diamonds, I'd say used to be no, but nowadays a lot more common. All right. Well, we're going to go on to the last couple of knickknacks here and there. We're going to cover one of my favorites, all right? And I don't have one here, and I really wish I did. It's called Fordite, and it's also known as Detroit City Agate. This is a synthetically man-made stone, and everyone's going, what? It's so cool. Let me tell you the story of the stone, just because if you ever find a piece, pick it up just for posterity, because it's going away. There will be no more Detroit City Agate ever made again. What it is it actually came out of the paint booth at Ford Motor Cars. They'd roll cars in and they'd spray them with a paint, and then they'd bake them and roll the car out and then spray the next car in and paint that and bake them. Well, what that did was, with all the overspray over the years, is it built up layers and layers and layers and layers of paint that had been sprayed, then dried, and then moved on. So they were actually chipping 4, 5, 6 inch deep pieces of this paint out of the bottom of the paint booth. And somebody said, hey, what would happen if we polished this up and made it look like a Cavachon stone? And they're amazing. They're actually the most beautiful coloration. And if you know car colors really, really well, you can actually tell what year it was and what model and what factory it came out of, because you can look at a stone and go, oh, well, that yellow was used on the 74 Corvette, right? And that was the only time they used that color yellow. So you know that stone was painted in 1974 and it came out of a certain plant. I digress. Like I said, Fordite is one of my favorite stones. I love selling it. I love having it. And because they changed all the policies and the way that they paint cars anymore, there won't be any more. So yes, it's man-made, but it's done. They're out of business. So if you can pick it up when and where you can. It's really cool. All right, one of the last stones that I really wanted to come over was not necessarily a stone, but the style. And it's this multiple peaks and valleys druzy look, which I'm starting to see more and more in different stones. Now, they can do this in any kind of hardened natural stone, again, where we talked about the accumulation of water and then its evaporation, and what it does is form these natural pits and valleys across a stone. It's very kind of cool. And as you move it in the light, you're going to see that it really just deflects and picks up light. If you look at something like this, which is also natural stone, you're going to see that same kind of formulation, same kind of use. And again, this is a piece of jasper that is uncut in its natural raw form, and it has that druzy look. So you could actually go through and cut pieces of this off, polish them up, and they would look very, very cool. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I really, truly hope you've been having a great week. I hope you've been having a great year. Keep positive. Keep going. A couple of announcements real quick. Once again, as always, my caveat, I am not GIA certified. I simply am aware of this information of 20 years of being in the business. We do have our jewelry store open. Right now, we're still kind of in our soft opening mode, but we are open for business from Tuesday through Saturday. And it's at 3061 Highway 51 South in Hernando, Mississippi. If you're in the area, come by and see us from Tuesday through Saturday from 10 till 6, and we will get you set up. I hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving, beautiful time. Enjoy the weather, enjoy the day, and as always, see you next time.